then in 1960, I acted in a play called Death Watch, which was a very successful play in Los Angeles, and a lot of the industry people came to see this. And then we made the film in 1964. And a lot of the industry people came, and I started working very steady after that. The man on the right in the uniform is Robert Ellenstein, who I was able to hire later to play the president of the Federation in Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. And this was the play called Death Watch, and after that, it was a big career lift. I was in Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, Dr. Kildare, Perry Mason, and eventually a series called The Lieutenant, produced by Gene Roddenberry. And now after Trains and Horses, we're talking about starships. So I got a call one day after I'd done this episode. The lieutenant, my agent, called me and said, Gene Roddenberry saw the footage and he's interested in you for a pilot for a television series, a science fiction that he's going to make. And he'll be in touch. And I thought, well, okay, I've been working pretty good by then, so I kind of took it with a grain of salt. There's a lot of maybes, and maybe he's going to cast me in this, maybe he's going to make the pilot, maybe he'll cast me in it, maybe the pilot sells, maybe the network will keep me in the show, maybe it'll get picked up for more than 3 or 4 episodes. There's a lot of maybes. But when he called a couple months later and asked for a meeting, I went and I thought, okay, now he's going to audition me or whatever. When I got there, he walked me around the various departments. He showed me the sets being built. He showed me the costumes being designed. He showed me the props, the tricorder and the communicator, the phaser, and the makeup department. And he said, you'd be wearing pointed ears. And I thought, oh. Anyway, I realized that he was now selling me on this job. I wasn't there to be auditioned. I had this job if I wanted it. All I had to do was keep my mouth shut and I could go to work, you know. So it was a little scary, but what attracted me, I mean, the ears and all of that, you know, it could have been a bad joke. But what attracted me was when he said, this character is going to be a Vulcan from the planet Vulcan. He's going to look alien, going to look different. He's going to have a human mother and a Vulcan father. And he's going to have an internal life that consists of a battle between his emotions and his logic. And he's going to try to live as a Vulcan, to suppress the emotional side of his persona and live as a Vulcan unemotionally. And I thought that's an interesting challenge for an actor, and it sounds like it might be an interesting role to play. So I took the job and we went to work. And this is one of the first photographs that was ever taken of us. This was actually shot summer of 1966 before we even went on the air. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but somebody said, go outside, there's somebody wants to talk to you guys. We walked out and somebody took this photograph. And this is in the makeup department, Dee Kelly in a chair, and I've got my makeup on, the eyebrows and the ears and so forth, and obviously still wearing my civilian clothes. And the work was intense. Once in a while we had a laugh. The work was very intense. I was there 12 hours a day. I got there in the makeup chair at 6:30 in the morning and walked out of the studio, drove out at 6:30 at night every day. The days were long, the work was hard, took a lot of energy. In the afternoons at 3 or 4 o'clock, in order to stay sharp and on my game, I started gulping honey to give myself an extra surge of energy. We did some very, very interesting episodes, as I'm sure you know and understand. We had an episode where Kirk was split into 2 personalities. I think it was called The Enemy Within. Malfunction in the transporter. He comes up as a kind of a meek, mild-mannered Kirk, and then he comes up as a nasty Kirk. So it's our version of the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde story. And there comes a moment in the story where the evil Kirk has a phaser, and he's going to shoot the mild Kirk. And if he does that, we'll never get Humpty Dumpty back together again. So and the writer had written that Spock comes up behind the bad guy and hits him over the head with the butt of his phaser. And I said to the director, I don't think that's appropriate for the 23rd century in science fiction. You know, if we were doing Gunsmoke, that might work, you know. So what do you want to do? And I said, well, Spock is a graduate of the Vulcan Institute of Technology, and he took courses in human anatomy. And Vulcans have a certain kind of energy on their fingertips which, if applied appropriately to the pressure points on a human, would render him unconscious. The director said, "Oh, really?" "Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. You watch the way this works." And I came up behind Bill Shatner, and I did that, and Bill went like that, and dropped to the floor, and that's where the Vulcan neck pinch was born. It was a big success. A lot of people asked me to teach them how to do it so they could do it to their kids. We came to an episode that was a very beautiful script written by a wonderful science fiction writer named Theodore Sturgeon, a script called Amok Time, which was really very poetic. And it was an interesting script for the Spock character because we were going to go to Vulcan for the first time, to Spock's home planet, and we're going to see other Vulcans for the first time. Spock was the only Vulcan we had seen up to that point. And Spock had to get home to fulfill a marriage betrothal. Spock was in heat. And, yeah. Happens once every 7 years, you know that. And quite an event, actually. Well worth waiting for. So we get to the planet, and there's the three of us, DeForest, Kelly, and Bill, and myself, and Spock is going to be married, and the lady that's going to conduct the marriage ceremony is being carried in a sedan chair at the head of a procession, and we learn that she's a very important person. She's the matriarch of Vulcan planet, a character named T'Pau, played by a wonderful Viennese actress named Celia Lofsky. And they set her down. I'm to approach her, and she says, "Welcome home, Spock," and I'm supposed to say something like, "It's nice to be here." I don't remember exactly what I was supposed to say, but I said to the director, I think that we should have something that Vulcans do when they greet. I'm looking for ways to build interesting aspects of the Vulcan culture. And he said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, humans, we shake hands with each other when we meet. Asians bow to each other. Military people salute each other. Vulcans should have a greeting of some kind." He said, "What do you want to do?" Well, I reached back into my childhood as a Jewish kid in Boston, going to the synagogue on the high holidays with my family. I'm sitting with my grandfather and my father and my brother in the men's section. And there comes a point of the service where the Kohanim, they're called, they're the members of the priestly tribe of the Hebrews, get up to bless the congregation. And the blessing is one that we know from the Old and the New Testament. "May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause his countenance to shine upon you. May the Lord turn his graciousness unto you and grant you peace." So these guys are up there, and they're going to bless the congregation. My dad says to me, "Don't look." So I'm 8 years old, and there's something strange going to happen, so I snuck a peek. And these gentlemen up there they're in kind of an ecstasy, almost like a revival meeting. They're shouting this prayer, chanting it and shouting it in Hebrew, 5 or 6 of them. And I snuck this peek, and what I saw looked something, this is a demonstration of me showing you what they look like. It was like that. They've got their heads covered with their prayer shawls, and their hands out over the congregation, towards the congregation like that. See? And it's a magical thing. Every time I do that, flashbulbs go off. Can't stop it. And I had no idea why they were doing that, but it kind of struck me something interesting was happening. So I immediately started to work to learn to be able to do that with my hands. And I spent years of diligent practice and self-denial to master that. I could get to the point I could do it right hand, left hand, anytime, any place. I could do it. I never knew it would come in handy someday. Anyway, I said to the director, "Maybe Vulcans do that." He said, "Okay." I learned later that this is the shape of the letter Shin, which is a letter in the Hebrew alphabet, which is the first letter in the word Shalom, which means peace. It's also the first letter in the word Shaddai, which is a name for the Almighty. Now, I learned much later that you're not supposed to look because the legend is that during that blessing, The Shekinah, the feminine aspect of God, comes into the sanctuary to bless the congregation. And that's a deity. She gives off the light of a deity, and you dare not see that. It might be too powerful it could injure you badly, and even worse. So you protect yourself by covering your eyes and not looking. But I snuck a peek and I survived. I was okay. Anyway, the director said to Celiolowski, the actress, Leonard is going to do that as he approaches you, and you'll return the gesture. The only problem was that she had not spent the years of television practice. So we had a problem with her, but we managed. She held her right hand in shape with her left hand like that, and she held it out of sight of the camera. So she was ready. When I raised my hand, she raised hers, and that's how we got it into the show. This photograph was taken. This photograph was actually taken that day, on the set that day, the first time this gesture went into Star Trek. And within a few days after that show aired, it was coming back at me on the streets. Kids, truck drivers, police, waiters in restaurants. Hey, Spock, hey, how are you? It was great. This is a photograph of my son and myself, my son Adam. He came to visit me one day on the set, and they snuck him off into the makeup department. They put the ears on him, they sent him out on the set to surprise me. Fan mail. The fan mail was coming in stacks. It started out with little packages, and I was signing every photograph and signing notes and responding to each letter. And then it was coming in stacks, and I couldn't handle it on my own. I needed help, and it was getting to be expensive, the postage and the photographs and so forth. So I asked Desi look for some help, and they gave me a stipend of $100 per episode to pay for the handling of the fan mail. And then I got this it's Sally. I'm talking to a couple of people here. You want to talk to a couple of people? Say hello, man. That's my wife, Susan. Okay. Can I finish? She says, have fun, everybody. I'll talk to you later. I got this memo. That's the first time that's ever happened. I got this memo from the business affairs people at the studio. It said, Dear Leonard, for the past several weeks we've been consulted with respect to the operation in regard to your personally handling your fan mail. And we have iterated ourselves with regard to the agreement that was made with respect to our obligations to you in this connection. For purposes of clarification to you and others receiving copies of this memo, I would like to iterate the agreement that was made. We agree, in addition to your compensation, to pay you $100 toward your secretary and equipment needs for your personally handling the fan mail. It is not intended, nor was it specifically agreed, that we would furnish you with pens, pencils, etc., which we assumed you would furnish yourself. So the next day, I thought a memo like that calls for an answer. And the next day I sent a memo and I said, thank you very much for taking the time to send me the memo clarifying our agreement as regards to fan mail supplies, etc. I hasten to assure you that we will no longer need to make requests in this area for some time, since my secretary and I have gone to various offices around the studio and managed to steal all the pens and pencils.